Krishna Hare की जय। निताई गौर प्रेमानंद।
Hare Krishna, everyone. Thank you very much for joining this Bhadra Purnima special, where we're coming together to gain inspiration for continuing Srila Prabhupada's work of getting the Srimad Bhagavatam in the hands of people all over the world. He said he wanted that every intelligent person have a set of Srimad Bhagavatams, and he said that the Bhagavatam would re-spiritualize the world. Where does such inspiration come from? It comes from the hearts of Srila Prabhupada's followers who are dedicated to the Srimad Bhagavatam. And today we have His Holiness Radhanatha Swami joining us, and he'll be speaking to us about the importance of the Bhagavatam and distributing the Bhagavatam, Bhadra Purnima, and many other aspects of the importance of the Srimad Bhagavatam. We also this morning have a video from His Holiness Bhakti Raghava Swami. He can't join us live because, as usual, he's in a village somewhere where they don't have internet. So he's made a video and sent it over, and we'll be showing that. And also Bhima Prabhu, my good friend and the leader of Sankirtan in India, who caused the revolution of book distribution and that continues in waves all across Bharat, has joined us as well, so we can feel his presence, and he'll be speaking today also to enliven us. And we welcome all of you. Thank you very, very much for taking your time and attention to tune in to this program this morning so that we can utilize the last week that we have towards Bhadra Purnima with supernatural strength and enthusiasm. And not just reaching our goal, but now we're looking at smashing our goal of 10,000 Bhagavatam sets. In the last couple of years, we've, with a half-hearted effort, in some places a wholehearted effort, but around the world, which is what we're looking for, a combined effort, which is wholehearted, we've been able to hit the 7,000 mark. This year, we decided that enough is enough. No more playing games and no more lukewarm endeavor. We're going not just 10,000, but over 10,000. And we're quite confident because of all of you joining that we'll be able to do that. So I offer my respectful obeisances to His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada and to all of you. And I, with great joy in my heart and with extreme gratitude, I welcome His Holiness Radhanatha Swami, who's so kindly joined us today to speak about this project. So, Maharaj, thank you very, very much for joining us. And I welcome you to speak whatever you wish for as long as you wish. We'll stay here this morning just to drink in the nectar as long as you would like to stay with us. Hare Krishna.
Om Agyantimirandasya Gyananjana Chalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha. Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swamin iti namine. Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirbishesha Shunyavadi Paschyatyate Shatarine Vanchakalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhya evacha Patitanam bhavanibhyo Vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gauda Bhakta Brinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. I am truly honored and grateful to be among all of you for this most auspicious and important satsang, where we have gathered together to inspire and enliven one another on the glories of the Srimad Bhagavatam and the very spirit that Srila Prabhupada revealed to us within the Srimad Bhagavatam. Special gratitude to my dearest friend, God brother, and mentor, His Grace Vaisesika Prabhu, for so kindly including me and actually bringing us all together. In the Srimad Bhagavatam itself, Vedavyas writes, Krishne swadhamo pagate dharma jnani dibi saha kalonashta drishamesha puranoko dunoditaha. That the Srimad Bhagavatam, as Prabhupada said, is the literary incarnation of Krishna. In this age of Kali, a time of darkness, Krishna incarnated in the form of the Srimad Bhagavatam to give light, to give hope, and ultimately to give the crest jewel of all realizations, prema pumartha mahan, to open the doors for ecstatic love for Krishna, for God within the hearts. Srila Prabhupada explains at the beginning of his Srimad Bhagavatam translations and purports that the Srimad Bhagavatam is opening the doors for a spiritual revolution of humanity. And we see in the world today how desperately people are hungry for truth, for real happiness. This COVID-19, this pandemic, is causing so much suffering, the suffering of disease, the suffering of economic loss, the suffering of depression, loneliness, confusion. At the same time, there's massive forest fires blazing in California. At the same time, there's horrible racist activities taking place that's just shaking the very core of people's values. It's very sad when we see people suffer. The nature of a devotee, Srila Prabhupada explains, is a devotee is soft-hearted, and paradukha dukhi feels for the suffering of others. A devotee, everything in life we want to orient to giving the light of Krishna's mercy to the world, and how much that light is desperately needed now. And it's also a time, as many devotees have observed, when the tendency of complacency in people's minds, trying to just go on with being comfortable in the material world, it's being shaken. And it really is a time when people are exploring what is the purpose of life? What is the meaning of life? Why is there this suffering? When Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu instructed Sanatana Goswami, in many ways, just as Arjuna took the role of a confused living entity, took the position of all of us in order to receive the Bhagavad Gita, Sanatana Goswami also took the role of people in this world. And he presented himself to Lord Chaitanya that I don't know who I am. I don't know why I'm suffering. I don't know how to get out of suffering. I don't know the purpose of life. These are the basic questions of humanity. And these questions are really especially being invoked in today's world. The Srimad Bhagavatam, Lord Chaitanya, he proclaimed it is the Amalam Puranam. It is the pure essence of all the Vedic literatures. During this particular time of the year, we have just celebrated Janmashtami. We are about to celebrate Radhastami. And Krishna's incarnation in this age of Kali as the Srimad Bhagavatam is being celebrated in the form of this Bhadra Purnam book distribution effort. It is really a time to celebrate the coming of Srimad Bhagavatam. And how important is the Srimad Bhagavatam? The more we understand its importance, the more we will really understand what a blessing it is and how crucial it is for us to both read it and distribute it. Sometimes Srila Prabhupada was asked, how can we best repay you for all that you've given? And Srila Prabhupada, he would say, by receiving what I've given you, and by giving it to others. By our practice and by our preaching. Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, if we read in Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, he was constantly quoting from Srimad Bhagavatam. In fact, Srila Prabhupada, in his introduction to Srimad Bhagavatam, gives a summary study of the entire life of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Because Lord Chaitanya was the living embodiment of Srimad Bhagavatam. He personified the Srimad Bhagavatam and he distributed the teachings of Srimad Bhagavatam. The sampradaya of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, since his personal pastimes in this world, has been built on the foundation of the teachings of Srimad Bhagavatam. We see his acharyas, our acharyas, constantly referring to Srimad Bhagavatam, basing their lives and their words all on the authority of Srimad Bhagavatam. Sanatana Goswami wrote commentary. Jiva Goswami, Rupa Goswami expanded so much on the teachings of Srimad Bhagavatam. Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. the very Brahma Sutra, which is considered the essence of all Vedic literatures, the expansion, the commentary by the author himself, Vedavyas, is the Srimad Bhagavatam. We know the story from Vedavyas himself. He explains, he kind of gives a little autobiographical sketch when he was in a state of despair, sitting on the bank of the Saraswati River near his cave in the Himalayas, not knowing what was the emptiness he was feeling inside. He was trying to do everything for humanity. And at that time, Narada Muni, his guru, told him, "You have not yet given a scripture that deals exclusively with pure unalloyed devotional service and glorifies the pastimes of Krishna, who is Krishnastu Bhagavan Swayam, the source of all incarnations, the Purna avatar. God, the absolute truth in complete fullness, with all opulences." So Vedavyas, he wrote the Srimad Bhagavatam as the very commentary of Vedanta Sutra, the last word of all the Vedic knowledge, the very essence of all the scriptures, which culminates in the highest revelation of spiritual truth, the divine love of Sri Sri Radharani and Krishna, the spontaneous, intimate, ecstatic love of the residents of Vrindavan. And the first 9 cantos that lead us into Krishna's Vrindavan Leela are stories, histories, teachings that lead us on the path to prepare us for pure unalloyed devotional service. Nigama Kalpataru, that Bhagavatam is the ripened fruit of the desire tree of all the Vedic literatures. Savai Pungsang Parodharmo Yato Bhaktir Hokshaje Ahoitaki Apratihata Yayatma Suprasidati. That this Srimad Bhagavatam, at the very beginning and throughout, it is teaching what is the supreme Dharma, that which awakens ecstatic, loving, devotional service, which is unmotivated by egoism or selfishness, and uninterrupted by any circumstance, either within ourselves or in the world around us. This is the path of Srimad Bhagavatam. Srila Prabhupada, our beloved founder Acharya, in the line of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's Brahma Madhva Gaudiya Parampara, he went to Vrindavan to make his residence. And he particularly chose to live at the Radha Damodar temple, the place of Sri Jiva Goswami, the place of the Samadhi of Sri Rupa Goswami, the place where all the 6 Goswamis and their associates would regularly meet to discuss Srimad Bhagavatam, the teachings, the message, and the mercy of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And it was there that Srila Prabhupada, he chose to prepare himself for his mission to spread Lord Chaitanya's message throughout the world. He spent years translating and writing purports to the Srimad Bhagavatam. And as it has been explained by other speakers, and Vaisesika Prabhu describes it so beautifully, Gopal Krishna Goswami Maharaj and others, Srila Prabhupada, the efforts he had to make, he typed with his own hands every word. He studied, he meditated, he prayed. In the seclusion of that little room at Sri Radha Damodar Temple, he presented his devotional ecstasies, he called, in the form of his purports to Srimad Bhagavatam. And in order to publish, he had no money. He had to go out and beg. At that time, there was so many governmental restrictions for paper. It was practically impossible for him to even get the paper to print it on. But as Prabhupada said, impossible is a word in a fool's dictionary. His compassion, his love for his Guru and Krishna, and his compassion to all beings of this world was so great. There was nobody watching him. There was no news releases or internet news telling about what he had done today. It was just him and Krishna. And he would take trains to Delhi and he would negotiate with government people trying to get permission for paper, and he would beg people for printing. He would go to printing presses and try to get them to publish it on consignment. And after years of such struggle, totally focused on the first canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, when he actually had it published, he went to Mumbai to try to get his passage. Once he had the Srimad Bhagavatam, he felt now is the time. And Sumati Morarji, who was from the Pushti Marg, she also worshipped Srimad Bhagavatam. She also helped Prabhupada pay for his third volume of Srimad Bhagavatam publication. When Srila Prabhupada was on the Jaladuta, he boarded in Calcutta, and in Cochin, just about the time of his 69th birthday, 1965, the Srimad Bhagavatams were sent and put on the ship. And when Srila Prabhupada saw the boxes of Srimad Bhagavatam boarding the ship in Cochin, he understood Krishna's with him in such a special way. And after all of the trials during that 38 days of seasickness and heart attacks, when he finally arrived on the shores of the United States in New York City, he had such confidence in the success of his mission because Krishna was with him in the form of the Srimad Bhagavatams. That was so much the beginning of our movement. It's what Srila Prabhupada focused on most when he was preparing for his journey. The Srimad Bhagavatam, these books traveled with Srila Prabhupada on the Jaladuta. And if you read Srila Prabhupada's diary and some of his letters from those days, he was writing to people of India in Mumbai, people who he requested to help him by putting his Srimad Bhagavatams in the bookstores of India. He was very concerned, and there was much correspondence in that regard. And Srila Prabhupada would go door to bookstores and cultural centers, personally trying to get people to put the Srimad Bhagavatam in it. And in many ways, just his selling of Srimad Bhagavatams in New York City was very much his livelihood. Livelihood in the sense it was sustaining his efforts to establish Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's movement all over the world. And after some time, when Srila Prabhupada's International Society for Krishna Consciousness was established and began to grow, how eager and excited Srila Prabhupada was when the devotees were printing in very first-class quality his Srimad Bhagavatam. And so much of his time, practically every day, every night, Srila Prabhupada was spending wherever he was in the world traveling. When all others were asleep, he would be awake, translating and writing his purports to Srimad Bhagavatam. In fact, he wrote Krishna book, and he explains in Chaitanya Charitamrita that because he was very old and his health was not good, and he did not know if he would complete the entire Srimad Bhagavatam, he wanted to make sure that the people of the world had Krishna's pastimes. And thus Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, was there. Srila Prabhupada, the only thing he really asked from George Harrison through Shyam Sundar was for the money to publish the Krishna book, the summary of the 10th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. So Srila Prabhupada was so focused on this literature. And it is a revelation of how Srila Prabhupada was so perfectly and purely representing all the great acharyas of our parampara of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And Srila Prabhupada was so eager that the devotees distribute his books. And Srila Prabhupada, he presented the Vedic literatures in such a way that in his commentaries of Bhagavad Gita, we receive the essence of Srimad Bhagavatam. And in his commentaries of Srimad Bhagavatam, we receive the essence of Bhagavad Gita. Prabhupada just brought it all together. And in his Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, he gave the essence of Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam, because that is Lord Chaitanya's message. Jeev Jago, Goda Chandra Bole. Wake up, sleeping souls. You are in the darkness, sleeping under the influence of Maya. Wake up to your true, eternal self. The reality of the beautiful, supreme, absolute truth, Krishna, who is the ultimate object of our love and the ultimate lover of every soul. Srila Prabhupada's message. He wanted us to study Srimad Bhagavatam. Oftentimes he said, I am spending so much time writing these books so that the devotees can read, can learn. Because Srimad Bhagavatam is non-different than Krishna. is non-different than Srimati Radharani. Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur said every line of Srimad Bhagavatam can give one ecstatic love of God, of Krishna, if one reads it and understands it deeply. So when we're distributing Srimad Bhagavatam, what an incredible historical blessing that is for each and every one of us. Srimad Bhagavatam is so great. When at the time of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, it was so rare to have a copy. We read about Srinivasacharya. He wanted a copy of Srimad Bhagavatam so he could study under Gadadhar Pandit, because Gadadhar Pandit's was the letters were washed away by the combined tears of himself and Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu as they would read it together. Lord Chaitanya would discuss Srimad Bhagavatam with Gadadhar Pandit at Tota Gopinath Temple for many hours every single day. Srinivasacharya, he went all the way back to Bengal to get somebody to make a copy by hand of Srimad Bhagavatam. It took months and months, perhaps a year, to get that copy. And how much he cherished it. And that same Srimad Bhagavatam, and even more with the commentaries of Srila Prabhupada and all of our Gaudiya Vaishnavacharyas, is given to us. But just because we can easily get it, we can order it online, or we can get it at a temple, a set of Srimad Bhagavatam, it doesn't make it less rare and less valuable than what Gadadhar Pandit and Lord Chaitanya was reading, or Srinivasacharya was traveling hundreds and hundreds, thousands of miles trying to get a copy. The same value, the same message, and even more, because it's enhanced by the commentaries of the divine, pure, ecstatic, eternal associates of Krishna in the form of our acharyas. What is our right to distribute the Srimad Bhagavatam? What is our right to read Srimad Bhagavatam? It's only by the mercy of Srila Prabhupada's causeless divine grace that he's giving us a chance to read it, to understand it, to hear it, and what to speak of, to distribute it. Because in Bhakti Yoga, it's through seva that we get realization. We can hear, we can practice, but it's in serving, it's in giving to others that Krishna actually gives us the realization. So distributing Srimad Bhagavatam, how dear it is to Srila Prabhupada, and how dear it is to Mahaprabhu and all of his associates. On the library party that was started by His Holiness Satsvarup Goswami Maharaj, and many of the most exalted devotees of ISKCON were on that library party. One in particular was His Holiness Bhakti Tirtha Swami Maharaj. During Prabhupada's time, his name was Ganasham Prabhu. And he was, whether in America, going to Europe, and then during communist times behind the Iron Curtain, he was distributing sets of Prabhupada's books, standing orders, because in those days, many of Srila Prabhupada's books were not yet published, not even yet translated. And Srila Prabhupada was so overjoyed with all those devotees who were actually distributing entire sets of his books. And we know the beautiful story when Srila Prabhupada met Bhakti Tirtha Swami Maharaj in London. He embraced him and he cried and he thanked him. He said, "Thank you. Your life is perfect." And Srila Prabhupada wasn't only embracing and crying in appreciation of Bhakti Tirtha Swami Maharaj, but just as Arjuna was Krishna was instructing him to instruct us, we can take it that Srila Prabhupada is actually crying in gratitude and embracing all devotees for all time to come, who are going through sacrifices and even taking risks to share Srila Prabhupada's very life and soul with the world, the Srimad Bhagavatam, and the holy names of Krishna. What a incredible, rare, inconceivable opportunity it is. That's what book distribution is about. And this particular effort of book distribution to distribute entire sets of Srimad Bhagavatam is extraordinary and so very, very special. In our Krishna consciousness movement, there are 3 factors that each devotee needs to keep focused on. One is enriching our own personal spiritual life. Another is nourishing the community of Vaishnavas. And the third, is spreading Krishna consciousness to the world in general. And this particular Bhadra Purnima Srimad Bhagavatam distribution effort is such an opportunity for all 3 of these essential principles to be fulfilled. Vaisesika Prabhu, he teaches the very heart of a book distributor through his words and through his example. That in order to really be an empowered book distributor, we need to focus deeply on our own personal sadhana, which means we have to take shelter of the holy names in a regulated and serious way. And we also need to sincerely study Srila Prabhupada's books and to live a life of character and spiritual integrity. Community. In order to sustainably and effectively spread Krishna consciousness to the world, we need to do it in a way that strengthens and unites the community of Vaishnavas. They should be inseparable. And the ISKCON of Silicon Valley is such a beautiful example. Devotees from various backgrounds. It's one of the most happy, united, and strongest spiritual communities in the world. And the focus is so much to distribute Srila Prabhupada's books. That their enthusiasm to organize together, to enthuse one another, to go deeper into their sadhana and to help each other go deep into their sadhana so that they can actually go out and distribute these Srimad Bhagavatams. And as many of you have heard, even in this COVID-19 where people are being bewildered, how are we supposed to do what we need to do in our life? Ahoitakiya pratihata. Because of the unity, because of the enthusiasm they share for one another, because such a focus to please Srila Prabhupada and to give mercy to the people of the world, whatever happens, they find newer and creative and more wonderful ways to increase the distribution of Srila Prabhupada's books. So while ISKCON of Silicon Valley is distributing tens and thousands, hundreds and thousands of books, and they're becoming closer together as a Vaishnav community with genuine care and to enthuse one another. So this is a wonderful opportunity, Bhadra Purnima, in this distribution of sets of Srimad Bhagavatam, for communities to come together to give Srila Prabhupada and Lord Chaitanya and Sri Sri Radha Govinda's mercy to the world. It's an opportunity. In focusing to distribute Srimad Bhagavatam, we understand the need now. I have to focus on my own personal spiritual sadhana in order to be empowered. Yes, it is true. In giving, we do receive. During this time of Bhadra Purnima, the blessing that Shukadev Goswami has given, the blessing that Srila Prabhupada and all of our acharyas, Sri Sri Radha Govinda Dev and Mahaprabhu and the Panchatattva, they will shower blessings and grace individually and collectively on each of us in our communities if we rise above all petty discrepancies, all petty disputes, and all complacency and laziness, and actually together inspire one another to take the greatest treasure in all of creation, the book of Krishna's pastimes, of Prabhupada's devotional ecstasies, and share it with the world, the thousands and the millions. So what can I say except thank you, Vaisesika Prabhu. Thank you, devotees of ISKCON Silicon Valley. Thank you, Bhima Prabhu and Gopal Krishna Goswami Maharaj and all those who are inspiring this incredible effort. It can transform the world. And in the process, it can transform our communities locally. And there is historical networking and communications now that are being inspired among leaders and concerned devotees all over the world. I am so grateful. I am so happy. And my sincerest request to all of our leaders of projects of ISKCON and each individual devotee, let us take this Srimad Bhagavatam set distribution at this particular time very, very seriously. The world needs it. And because the world needs it, we need to do it. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. I thank you very much.
Haribo! Hare Krishna. With every step forward in the Krishna conscious movement or in any development of Krishna consciousness, but especially those in which we're trying to rise to a higher level, it's always preceded by the association of an advanced, exalted Vaishnava. All advancement comes from the heart of the advanced Vaishnava. Maharaj, I've heard a lot of talks before, but that was my favorite one ever. And it has a lot to do with the context. Somehow or other, we find ourselves stranded in this very odd time where we're all pushed to our rooms and we have to figure out how to keep going. And somehow or other, we are. And with your talk today and your appearance and the will that you gave from your heart, the way you explained Srila Prabhupada's will for all of us and how we connect to it through his service, continuing the service he started painstakingly, is so inspiring. And I felt this wave of confidence come across my entire mind and body that because you've come here today and spoken these words, we will be victorious. Param Vijayate Shri Krishna Sankirtan. I could not be more grateful. I'm so thankful for you rearranging your schedule, coming on specifically to give this talk today. It will be a resounding shot heard all over the world that will lift devotees up. Thank you a million times. Hare Krishna. Hari Hari Bo. We also received some wonderful news, and that is His Holiness Bhakti Raghava Swami. Somehow or other, they invented electricity and internet in the time it took to get him on this call. We were hoping for it, and then we heard at the last minute he wouldn't be able to come. But now I've received word through carrier pigeon that Maharaj has somehow mystically appeared here. Is that still true? Is he on?
Yes.
I believe it is true.
It's true. Hare Krishna Maharaj. Welcome. Thank you very much for coming.
Hare Krishna.
I know Radhanath Maharaj has other appointments to attend to, so there'll be questions and answers for everyone. If you want to stay, Radhanath Swami, and you're able to, please feel free. And we totally understand at any time if you have to go as well. Just feel free. Hare Krishna. I welcome His Holiness Bhakti Raghava Swami, who's emanating the power of devotional service by his unlimited dedication to Srila Prabhupada in all circumstances of his life, and now channeling the power of Go Seva, Varnashrama, of simple living, and inspiring people in all corners of the earth that nobody else would ever reach out to. What to speak of people all over the world by his example and by his teachings. Has also become one of the champions of the Bhadra Purnima and expanding the distribution of Srimad Bhagavatam. So Maharaj, thank you very much for beaming in from a village somewhere and some kind of a hut wherever you are. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Om Jnana Timarandasya Jnananjana Salakaya Takshura Militam Jena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha.
Well, even if that's all we hear from Maharaj, that's gonna definitely lift us up. Just his appearance was powerful. We weren't sure if he'd be able to keep that internet connection because he is in a remote place. So we do have, in case, and I'll leave this up to the organizers to decide, to make the decision. Oh, he's back. Okay, Maharaj is back.
I do apologize, and that's why I actually pre-recorded, and it may be better if this happens again. I am in a remote place, and there is a poor, unstable connection.
Okay.
It is totally beyond my control.
No problem, Marge. If it, let's try it for a minute or so, and if the internet is shaky, we will take your sangha by the video. I think I've seen part of it, and it's fantastic. So that we're just so happy that you're here. I think that we'll have to make an executive decision right here and show the video. Because even when I did hear Maharaj's voice, it was very shaky. Sri Ram Prabhu, do you agree? SKP? Maybe they can't come off mute. Let's show the video, Manisha.
Yes, right. We'll be pulling it up right now.
Okay.
Show the Mataji can pull it up.
Okay, I'll go ahead. Thank you. Manisha, let me know if you're able to see my screen.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
We're able to see it, but could you full screen it?
Yeah. Can you see it now?
We still see the other tabs.
Okay.
हाँ समझ में नहीं अच्छा नहीं बाहर है Hare Krishna Mataji, I can see it.
Computer audio.
Is this the maximum it can go?
I'm very happy to get this opportunity to speak. I'd like to begin by thanking the organizers for this very important event. We all know how book distribution was so central and so vital, so important for our founder, Acharya, His Divine Grace, Srila Prabhupada. And in the last few years, this Bhadra campaign has highlighted and given opportunity to many people to actually become involved by distributing sets of Srimad Bhagavatam. So this year, I've been asked to make a short presentation in the context of the ministry we have here in India, which is especially reaching out to villages. This is the ISKCON Daiva Varnashram ministry. We have our office in Sri Mayapur. The ministry has been in operation for the last over 11 years. And our main focus actually is in villages. I very much appreciate the opportunity actually to speak in this context because although books, as we know, Prabhupada said books are the basis, at the same time, not only is it important to read Srila Prabhupada's books, not only is it important to discuss Srila Prabhupada's books, not only is it important to distribute Srila Prabhupada's books, what is also extremely important and at times maybe neglected or not properly or not fully understood, how we should be living Srila Prabhupada's books. And in the context of villages, because village in terms of Vedic culture play such a vital and important role. And we all know, for the last so many months, the whole world is caught up in this global pandemic where many people, and including many of our own devotees, are naturally much more thoughtful. Just a few hours ago, I happened to be listening to an interview with His Holiness Kavi Chandra Maharaj, who's in lockdown right now in Bali. And of course, Maharaj has been a great supporter and himself has shown by example the importance of book distribution. He was relating how, because especially in a place like Bali, where it's basically a tourist place, now no tourists are coming, so everyone is very much localized. He was mentioning this very interesting point, how many devotees are, because Bali, although touristic in nature, is also very much an agricultural-based island. So many devotees, he was telling, are getting involved with farming. Within our ministry here in India, in the last few years, actually in March this year, literally speaking, a few days before the official announcement of the lockdown imposed here in India, I had just completed a 2-year marathon in visiting 108 villages in about 7 states in India. And this idea or proposal to actually place a set of Srimad Bhagavatam in the local language of the people in that particular state was presented to me by members of the global team who are very much working with His Grace Vaisesika Prabhu, who's heading up this Bhadra campaign. And of course, I'm referring to Sri Ram Prabhu, who's helping here in India, and Sri Krishna Purushottam Prabhu in California. And so one of the main purposes I had in the last 2 years gone to these villages was to actually make contact and inspire them to be connected, to take up their original Vedic culture. That's one of the main, we could say, objectives of our ministry. And this came as an ideal, we could say, program, and as an ideal follow-up to actually place one set of Srimad Bhagavatam in all of these villages, and to actually establish with the local leaders an official Bhaktivedanta library, whereby, because actually in going to these villages, naturally we met all kinds of local people expressing a lot of interest. Many of them actually, our program involved having Harinam Sankirtan, Go Puja, and having people pledge to chant the holy name at least one round every day. And many people were also taking books. And therefore, we were thinking how to follow up, how to give an opportunity to these people. And this is one of the most ideal ways by which we can give them the opportunity to be connected with Srila Prabhupada's books, with the Vedic culture, with the concept of what is called Vedic farming or natural farming. Preaching is not only limited to going out to meet people. Preaching is not simply distributing books. Preaching, we should understand in a much broader manner. Actually, I was just having this realization a few days ago in writing to one devotee that in our urban centers, in the cities, frontline preaching is book distribution. But in the country, frontline preaching is actually doing Vedic farming. Because practically speaking, no one is doing natural farming nowadays. And because of that, that is destroying our land, our soil, all over the world, creating one of the major global problems that is there. So in other words, Srila Prabhupada's books, it's not only philosophy, but actually applied philosophy. And this is a very important point that I would like to especially emphasize to our viewers today. And I want to make this connection, between what Srila Prabhupada actually referred to as the first phase, the first of four movements within Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's movement. There are actually four specific phases, four divisions, and they are interconnected, interlocked with one another. And today, actually, I want to take this opportunity to connect the first of these phases, which happens to be book distribution. Actually, it is simultaneously Harinam and book distribution, which, as we know, Prabhupada referred to as the Brihat Mridanga, isn't it? So Srila Prabhupada actually in a very important writing called Gita Nagari, way back in 1956, referred to these four movements: Sankirtan movement based on the holy name and book distribution. Second movement he referred to as a deity worship movement, installing deities, opening temples. Third, he referred to as spiritual initiation movement, congregational development. And fourth, he referred to as classless society, establishing society based on the natural God-given system, social system of Varna and Ashrama. And the occupational duties, Lord Krishna speaks about occupational duties, prescribed duties, which are also elaborated upon by Srila Narada Muni in the 7th canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam, whereby he speaks about dharma. Dharma mulam hi bhagavan sarva vedarmayo harihi smritam chat bidam rajan yena chatma prasidati. Those who are actually devotees are meant to meditate, to very deeply meditate on the full, complete meaning of dharma. And we have emphasized this practically every time we would give lectures in these villages. We would highlight these two aspects of dharma: the spiritual dimension of dharma, whereby we cultivate our spiritual life, we awaken our original spiritual identity as eternal servants of Krishna. That is one level. And the second level, which is often misunderstood and not applied, especially because modern day society does not favor that, is what is called the material swadharma. What is meant to be the natural way in which we live, the natural way in which we work, what are meant to be the natural occupations in society. And I just want to end on this point here. Srila Prabhupada, of course, began his movement in New York City, as we know, and he encouraged his devotees from the very beginning to go out and do Harinam. And then in the days when I joined in late 73, 74, basically we were distributing, Bhakti Godhead magazine. But simultaneously, Srila Prabhupada wanted that we demonstrate the practical application of this philosophy. So this is where the first movement, the Bhadra campaign is focused on this first movement of encouraging people to take these transcendental books, especially the Srimad Bhagavatam sets. And I think what is very important, especially in the context of what is taking place around the world today, this is a real message that Krishna is sending to all of us, to the whole world, and especially, I would say, to us as devotees. Our world has become overly digital. And, what is taking place now, in many ways, is forcing us to even become more digital. And of course, Prabhupada was not against modern technology. At the same time, we should understand that the more we become overly involved in these kind of, I would say, modern technologies, then we tend to lose out on some of the basics. That's a whole major topic, of course. Therefore, I, again, want to thank the organizers of this Bhadra campaign. I wish to make an appeal to whoever is listening to kindly support this wonderful endeavor on Bhadra Purnima. We are wanting to distribute 10,000 sets, 108 sets we are pledging for these villages. I mean, India has over 700,000 villages, and there's so many other villages around the world also. We should have a set of Prabhupada's books in every single village, and someone going there on a regular basis to preach and training individuals from that village to understand both the spiritual Swadharma aspect as well as the material Swadharma, so that people actually Smritam chat vidam rajan yena chatma siddhati. This verse, nicely explaining by Narad Muni, when we understand nicely, properly, fully, deeply the meaning of dharma, then this will be able to actually help us meet all of our material necessities, all of our emotional and mental, as well as social necessities, and of course, will help us to meet all of our spiritual necessities. So once again, thank you very much for this opportunity. And I'm pre-recording this in case, because all day actually we had sun. For many weeks we had no sun. Today the first sun is coming, but now it's starting to rain. So I don't know if I'll be able to be live on this program this evening. But once again, thank you for this wonderful opportunity. Jai Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. Jai Bhadra Campaign 2020 ki Jai. Jai Sri Harinam Sankirtan ki Jai.
Jai.
Hari Bol.
Haribo. His Holiness Bhakti Raghava Swami ki. Maharaj, if you're listening, anyway, these words are out of appreciation for your appearance and your lecture. What I really felt from that was the unity aspect. So brilliantly, you brought up the point of how all of the programs work together. One of the objectives of the Bhadra Purnima is to unite the global team of devotees and all the different aspects of the devotee service so that we're working together. And your being here, giving your attention and energy to this project is helping to unite everyone. I find that when the leaders come together, especially in a heartfelt spirit of cooperation, then that's when everything really happens. And one of the points you brought up, there's others to speak. I want to hear from Bhima Prabhu in a second, but I really liked how you said the digitalization of the world. And I related it to what Radhanatha Maharaj said about Srila Prabhupada sitting in Radha Damodar. And he said that there was no checking on Facebook to see what did people think of my translations today or anything like that. It was just he and Krishna. And the internet is already there through Krishna's connection to all living entities through Paramatma. But as His Holiness Bhakti Raghava Swami was pointing out, we can become so externally focused, we forget our base and how to stay connected to Krishna on that level. Thank you very, very much, Maharaj. Just knowing that you're out there putting those Srimad Bhagavatam sets in villages is very enlivening to all of us. And Bhima Prabhu, if you're still live and available, I'd like to just introduce you so you could say a few words for us, because for those of you who don't know, Bhima Prabhu was started in America. He's an American, very decidedly American, still comes to America regularly, especially to Missouri, St. Louis, but he was part of the original wave of Sankirtan in America, and then he carried that to India and started the first bus parties in India that now have become the mainstay of huge book distribution. Not only that, he's been dedicated to book distribution cent per cent his whole life. And he's a very dear friend of mine. And he's, from the very beginning, when we started talking about Bhadra Purnima together, he immediately jumped in and said, let's do this. Let's make it huge all over the world. Bhima Prabhu, thank you very much for all that you do. And if you'd say a few words for us here to enliven all of us, I'd deeply appreciate it.
Hare Krishna. Vaisesika Prabhu, I want to thank you for that fantastic intro. It's way beyond what I deserve. Also, His Holiness Radhanatha Swami, fantastic in discussion. Our lecture about Srimad Bhagavatam was wonderful. Hopefully we can have that recording up on YouTube so we can refer back to it later. It was just fantastic. And I always, every time I hear Bhakti Raghava Swami, I get some little information that is just really super enlightening and super pleasing. I remember last time before this, I heard his lecture in Mayapur. And it was so nice. He was saying how Krishna, Namo Brahmani Devaya Go Brahmane, Krishna likes the cows, Krishna likes the Brahman. But he was explaining that he even likes the cows before he likes the Brahman. And that's the culture of Vrindavan. Also, he explained that in Vrindavan, when they're making rotis, chapati, the first roti goes to the cow. The second roti, it's the culture there in Braj, will go to the Brahmin. And Krishna has to wait for the third roti. So I heard that from him, and it was so enlivening. It kind of brings you closer to what our culture of Krishna consciousness actually is. So that's an important thing, because Srila Prabhupada explains that Krishna consciousness is a cultural presentation. So this last October, I saw a video of Jayadvaita, of Vaisesika Prabhu and the devotees. They were making a sankalpa there in Tirupati that this next Bhadra Purnima, they would distribute 10,000 Srimad Bhagavatam sets. And I thought at the time, whoa, Vaisesika Prabhu is putting up the bar real high. And then as things unfolded, lockdown, all the shops are closed, people are not in the streets. All along I'm thinking, well, how are we ever going to meet this goal? And as it got closer to Bhadra Purnima, I was talking to the devotees about what the Juhu temple might do. And we were looking at what we did last year. And I was thinking, well, look at Prabhu. If you can just do half of what you did last year, considering the situation, I thought that would be pretty good. And then there was this conference call with Gopal Krishna Maharaj and Vaisesika Prabhu, and the whole mood changed just by their inspiration. We went from trying to do half of what we did last year, hopefully, to busting the glass ceiling and going over the quota, going over the goal of 10,000. And that really made me very, very happy and enthusiastic, because it just kind of goes to prove that as followers of Rupa Goswami, we're Rupa Nuga, the followers of Rupa Goswami. And he says in his Nectar Devotion, there's no material impediment to pure devotional service. And I remember at one time, the devotees in Northern Ireland were trying to distribute books when there was a war going on. And even though people were killing each other and blowing things up, the devotees were still out there distributing books. So this is kind of a similar situation. It's kind of like a war zone in a sense. But here we see that devotees are so enthusiastic to distribute books. And simply by the word of such exalted devotees as His Holiness Radhanatha Swami, His Holiness Gopal Krishna Maharaj, His Holiness Bhakti Raghava Swami, and His Grace Vaisesika Prabhu. Well, it looks like that we're not only going to make the goal, but India by itself is going to beat the goal. Can you imagine that? We're just Sri Ram Prabhu was counting different temples, pledges, and he came up with a figure of 6,385. But he didn't add Juhu. Juhu wants to do 2,000, so that brings it up to 8,385. And also, he had put Mayapur down for 3,000, but I just spoke to their Sankirtan leader, His Holiness Vijay Madhav Maharaj. And Vijay Madhav Maharaj says that, no, they're going to do for the year 4,000 sets of Srimad Bhagavatam. And then the news came in also. I spoke with Mohan Rupavu from the Delhi temple, and he says their goal is 5,000 sets of Srimad Bhagavatam. So we've gone through the roof here, right here in Bharatvarsh. So it just amazes me. I can remember a time when nobody sold any sets, hardly ever. There was a devotee, a real pioneer in set distribution in Australia, one disciple of Srila Prabhupada. His name was Gopinath Acharya Das in Australia. And he would go out and try to sell sets. And, you know, he would sell a few sets in a month. But just see today how many sets are going out. Bhagavad Gita we've been doing it for decades. Lots of Bhagavad Gitas, especially during the December marathon. Devotees go out and they get sponsors or they distribute directly. Lots of sets of, lots of Bhagavad Gitas, but not many sets of Srimad Bhagavatam. And now we see that the distribution, the sale of distribution in Srimad Bhagavatam, Lord Chaitanya wants that to happen specifically with no material impediment. Even though this lockdown is going on, sale is also going on. So I'm very happy to be part of this historic drive to distribute Srimad Bhagavatam. And I'm very pleased to have all of your association. It's really, really inspiring. And it's also, I'm happy to know that we're all going back to Goloka together. Hare Krishna. Haribo.
Bhima Prabhu, all I can say is we couldn't do any of this without you. As soon as we started thinking about world expansion. You're the first name that came on our list as far as like, let's get under Bhima and serve him. And that's what will make it happen. And not only couldn't we do it, we wouldn't want to do it without you. Your spirit is so infectious. You do it such a calm, level-headed way, but just wherever you go, you instill faith in the Sankirtan movement. And I thank you for all that you do and for coming here today and speaking. Hare Krishna.
Vaisesika Prabhu knows how to build up a person even though he's not worth it.
Prabhu, it's been a pleasure working with you all these years, and and I think we're all just getting started because the spirit
the
of
pleasure is
cooperation
all mine, and you really helped us out tremendously.
Hare Krishna. So we have a few slides to show. Monisha, would you put up the slide deck, and then we'll go through this. And I know we're going, we've gone a little long here, but this has been such an important event coming right before Bhadra Purnima that maybe we can get a few last comments in by our luminaries who have joined the call in just a second. Go ahead, Monisha. So first of all, the Bhadra Purnima this year will be symbolically punctuated with a Mahayagya that will take place at Ahobilam on Bhadra Purnima. It's already lined up. Sri Ram Prabhu, one of the great champions of book distribution in India, I have the pleasure of serving with him under Bhima Prabhu, has arranged this. It will. There's a special way in which the priest will be offering the names of everyone who not only distributes a set of Srimad Bhagavatams or buys a set of Srimad Bhagavatams or refers 5 people who might take sets of Srimad Bhagavatams. All these names will be read in this holy place, an appearance place of Lord Nrsingadev himself. So that yagya is something that you can bring up to people, that their name will be mentioned there in this holy place at this yagya on the Bhadra Purnima. Let's see the next slide. So get at least one set for yourself, gift at least one set, or sponsor at least one set, or give referrals for at least 5 worthy recipients. Next. Here's a look at how we're doing by continent, and we have a saying that I just invented, which is no continent left behind. We want every continent to feel part of this fully. So gradually, year after year, we're getting more and more participation worldwide. This is the scoreboard. Does anyone who created this want to give a little more insight into it? If you do, just jump on.
Yes, Maharaj, this is just the current numbers for North America.
Current means what? Current numbers that have been distributed so far, or the current numbers?
Yes. This is total number of sets distributed in North America as of yesterday.
As of yesterday, we've done 1,314. So we have about 8,700 to catch up to India. Yes?
Yes, Maharaj.
Okay. So we can see, if we look at this map, broad participation, some of it, we see 1 set here, 4 sets there, 0 sets there. We'd really like to see, although everyone doing their level best, as broad an effort as possible everywhere. Okay, let's see the next map. Here we have India. Total pledges so far, 8,285. And you can see by region, and Bhima Prabhu just added more to that by saying, by giving us the results of his personal conversations with various leaders. All glories to Bharat and the Sankirtan team there. And then finally, we have a view of the rest of the world, including Europe, where Bhaktivedanta Manor, Divyanam Prabhu and team have made a Herculean effort this year. Divyanam Prabhu, just briefly want to say how you were able to exceed expectations?
Hare Krishna Maharaj, thank you very much. Having received your kind words and encouragement and the order to try and distribute 500 sets in UK this year, because we have never crossed 180 in the last 2 years was our maximum. So we just reached out to all the temples in England and requested their participation right at the beginning of the year, actually. And then we reached out to a few other countries like Germany, Belgium, and also Czech, who have come on board and are also participating in the campaign. So our goal of 500 is not only looking realistic, but we are also hoping and praying, especially after this talk of Radhanatha Maharaj and other elevated personalities. I'm hopeful that we will smash the goal of 500, even though it was looking very difficult, by the blessings of all the Vaishnavas.
Haribo! Thank you very much, Divyanam Prabhu. And the phrase that stuck out to me was reaching out. Because he took the time and trouble, he and his team members, to reach out individually to each one of the centers. And not only that, he took responsibility for Europe as well. That's why you see these numbers on the board growing. Thank you very much. It's the personal touch that makes all the difference in the world. And let's see the couple more slides, please. Here's where you can get resources. There's lots of templates and information that's already ready for you. If you want to participate in Bhadra Purnima, and you can go here to bhadracampaign.com or info@bbtbooks.org. You can write and get whatever you want, answer any questions, get as much help as you need. So, Radhanatha Maharaj, if we could just get any final insights that you might have. We deeply thank you. It's been momentous having you here, and we thank you very, very much. And just anything that you would like to conclude with before we take a couple of maybe housekeeping from some of our local Sankirtan leaders. I think Maharaj is somehow muted. I don't know how.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
I want to extend my sincere gratitude to the BBT, Bhaktivedanta Book Trust, and all the leaders, Swavas Prabhu and Brahma Muhurta Prabhu and Madhu Sevata Prabhu and Gopal Krishna Maharaj, Bhima Prabhu. They've just kept the publication, the distribution, and the emphasis of reading Srila Prabhupada's books, so much in the forefront of their lives. And Vaisesika Prabhu, you have been such an inspiration for devotees throughout the world. Our goal is to love God, to love Krishna, and to share that love. And nothing else really matters. As we see in today's condition, suffering and death can come at any time. I was just listening to a tape of Srila Prabhupada recording, and he was saying that in this age of Kali Yuga, we can expect suffering and pain to come at any moment. Now that may sound pessimistic, to expect suffering and pain at every moment, but it's just a reality of how the world is. Padam padam yad vipadam natesham. And embedded within what Srila Prabhupada is saying here is the highest optimism, because we need to take shelter of Krishna. Every moment that is lost is gone forever, but we have the opportunity to take shelter of Krishna. And in taking shelter, we connect to Krishna. And when Krishna sees that we're sincere, he gives us the awakening of love for him. And to love Krishna and to feel Krishna's love is really the only purpose of human life. It's the nature of the soul, and nothing else really has any meaning. Everything else is just fleeting. We do the best we can in this world, but everything should be done directed by the compass of this truth, that the highest reality is to love Krishna and to feel Krishna's love and to share this love. And Srimad Bhagavatam is Krishna's love for creation being bestowed upon all humanity. That is what Srimad Bhagavatam is. And to read and to share Srimad Bhagavatam, really, it should be our life and soul. And this Bhadra Purnima campaign is such a wonderful opportunity to unite the hearts of devotees in our local communities and all over the world, to receive Krishna's love and to share Krishna's love. And I'm just so happy that these types of internet conferences are being made. And I believe that the ultimate purpose of technology we are witnessing today, to inspire our hearts to share Krishna's love. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you very much, Maharaj. Hare Krishna. And just to point out how, to you, Maharaj, devotees, leaders like Sri Ram Prabhu and Sri Krishna Purushottam, both disciples of Bhakti Raghava Swami, are coordinating from both sides of the ocean to promote Bhakti Raghava Maharaj's excellent vision of cow protection, varnashram, and so forth, simultaneously encouraging book distribution in amazing ways. Local leaders here, Malini, doing amazing work alongside SKP, Shraddha Devi Dasi doing corporate work. And then we have Divya Nam in the UK. We have Shamohini and her whole amazing team, Anukul Seva Prabhu, developing all kinds of campaigns from Toronto and around the world. And so it's these leaders who are on the ground who are they're losing sleep, actually, trying to figure out how to spread the Sankirtan movement. And I thank all of them for their heartfelt efforts, 24 hours a day, to do this kind of work. And all the devotees who are working together, cooperating. There's so many more leaders that are emerging because of this. I would just say the Bhadra campaign, the main vision I have is that it unites the world. I've always thought that a global Sankirtan team where we're all looking at one goal would be the best. And I've mentioned that at GBC meetings for the last 4 years, but Bhadra started to emerge and we said, this is the way that it can actually happen. And it is happening. So that's something I think that can actually increase book distribution by multiples. And the second is that this gives us a reason and a way to rise above all the suffering and death that you're talking about in the world. It's coming right now. Sorry to laugh, but it's just amazing what's happening. And you know, while we're doing this and we're focusing on the goal, we sometimes forget that there's a world out there. We just are in our own world. So it's helping us all rise above this. And finally, it's giving us a vision to how to follow up with people who get the Bhagavatams. It's a unique kind of distribution where we're giving a lot of attention to people after they get the Bhagavatam set, because it's such a momentous event for them, taking these books into their home. Some of them can't even figure out where to put them, and it pushes a lot of other things out of their lives, and then they're really ready. So there's so many benefits that are coming just from this one program. And in the last couple minutes that we have, I'd like to just ask any of the leaders anything that I've missed, and anything that you need to bring up in the presence of Maharaj here so that he can hear what's actually happening around the world and in front of Bhima. Any leaders? Did we forget any details, or do you think that there's something needs to be mentioned to everybody?
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Please accept
Hare
my
Krishna.
humble
Jai.
Prabhu, I think we covered everything, Prabhu.
Okay. That's amazing. But it's not, I mean, you know, what an event. It's amazing. Thank you so much, everybody, for participating. His Holiness Radhanatha Swami, thank you. His Holiness Bhakti Raghava Swami, His Grace Bhima Prabhu, my head at your lotus feet, all of you. I'm your servant. And all the leaders who have joined from around the world, thank you very much. Let's remember this day that we met and we smashed the goal. Sri Ram Prabhu, say something.
I just received the goal from Chopati. They doubled this year by doing 300 sets.
Haribo! Hare Krishna.
Thank you, bro.
The numbers are rolling in as we speak on this.
Yeah, we're not
Okay.
publishing anything. It's secret, but we are doing ahead of the goal.
Okay, that's how it happens. Every place counts, every number counts, and every Bhagavatam set means that we've done some major damage to the Kali Yuga. So now that the other sound vibrations are coming in, let's end this. If everyone can please unmute and say Hare Krishna.
Hare
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Ram,
Jai.
Ram Ram,
Hare Ram,
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare
Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol.
Krishna.
Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare
जो नमो नमः हरि बोल
Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare
Hare
Hare,
Krishna, Hare
Hare Krishna.
कृष्णा हरे
Hare
कृष्ण
Hare Krishna.
राम राम हरे
Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama,
Hare
Hare
Krishna,
Hare.
Hare Krishna.
Hi, Krishna dear everybody. We'll be ending the live stream. Thank you everybody for joining us today. Malini Mataji, if you have anything to add, please go ahead.
Thank you so much for all the broadcasting devotees. You've done an excellent job, and we're grateful for all your services. And the recording will be available soon. Hare Krishna.
Thank you. Hare Krishna.